Welcome back to the Leading and Learning podcast. My name is Brittany Blackwell. I am the customer marketing lead here at Panorama Education, and I am your host for today's episode. Right now, district leaders across the country are wrestling with the same question. How do you get students to show up? Not just physically, but emotionally, when so much is working against that. Chronic absenteeism is at a crisis level in many communities, and the solutions that actually work are rarely the ones that you'd expect. Today, I'm joined by Jenette Fruit, currently the high school principal at Earlville Community Unit School District 9 and incoming superintendent as of July 1st. Jenette has spent many years building a culture in Earlville where data drives the decisions, belonging drives attendance, and every student has someone in their corner. She is here to share what that journey has actually looked like and what other district leaders can take from it. So Jenette, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to share.
Before we get into everything, I have to acknowledge the moment that you're in. You are stepping into the superintendent role in just a few weeks. What originally drew you to school leadership?
So I think I've just always wanted to be a leader, and I have been at Earlville for the past 17 years, and I just love working with everyone, and I like being on the same playing field as everyone. So that's why I'm excited about it.
Yeah. And what's keeping you energized as you're about to take this next step into your next chapter?
So we have made a lot of growth and changes over the 17 years I've been here, and I'm just excited to keep going in the same direction. I have an awesome staff that keeps pushing me, so I know we're going to be on the right pathway. So I'm excited.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Well, let's start at the beginning, okay? What did your data process look like before Panorama came into the picture? What was that costing you and your teachers?
It was actually costing us a lot of time. We were doing data meetings. They were taking half days, and I felt bad because a lot of it was my teachers watching me click buttons just to bounce between the different screens, and they have enough stuff on their plates. They don't need to be wasting educational time watching me click through screens.
Yeah. So, what were you trying to understand about a student that really felt impossible to get to quickly when you were clicking around?
So we would do our benchmark meetings. So we would benchmark them on reading and math, and then how are they doing just socially in their classrooms. So we would have to bounce through whatever tool we were using because everyone had their own homepage for the kids. So I would have to look at little Johnny on this one, then this one, then this one, then this one, then hear teacher feedback, and then we would be able to talk about Johnny, which we appreciate Johnny, but spending 4 hours on one set of kids is a lot.
That is a lot. And you mentioned it perfectly. You said that was taking up a lot of valuable time that teachers could be with their students in that moment.
Yes.
So when did it become clear that something had to change?
So even before I knew about Panorama, we knew we needed something because we were pulling different things in and making our own Google Sheets or Excel back when we were Excel. And we were trying to pull everything, and it was just honestly, it was taking me hours and days to compile all the information just to help the data team meetings go from 4 hours to 2 hours. But the hours, I didn't have extra hours in the day either.
Right.
So I would say just bouncing between took a lot of time.
Yeah. And you also, you got student surveys through Panorama. When you ran your first student survey, what did the results show you?
So I'm embarrassed to say it, but our first survey results, it was in 2018 when we did the social emotional survey benchmark, so 3 times a year. And we only scored 18%. Only 18% of our students felt like they belonged to the school district, which it was extremely sad, but we also didn't want to hide from our results either.
Right. Yeah. You said that was what number again?
2018 was 18%.
18%. And so knowing that that was a low number, who did you bring into that conversation first?
So I sat down with the teachers and I said, okay, here is how the kids scored. And they had just about the same reaction I did of oh, what are we going to do? So that's where, and again, I have awesome teachers that are like, yeah, we can't have that. We need to do something about that. We don't actually want people to know that result.
Right.
And so when we were sharing that result at the beginning, because we're like, okay, this is where we're at, but this is why we need new resources. This is why we need to do things. And this is our plan in place. We were really happy. We were up to 34% in 2020, right before the COVID shutdown.
Hmm.
So we were on our way, and then COVID decided to hit, where
Right.
relationships became even more important.
Hmm. Yeah. So what were the first things that you changed when it came to, you said you had to change something. What was that first thing that you had to change?
So we had to focus on belonging in the relationships. We not only had to focus on the relationships with the teachers and students, but teachers to teachers and students to students. I had an old superintendent give me this quote that said, happy teachers make happy students, which make happy test scores.
Yeah.
And it is very true, because even like for myself, or I'm sure with you, if you think about your own life, you'll try harder to show up and impress if you are happy and you feel like you matter. And that's something that we consistently push here at Earlville, that we are a family. We have shirts with our mascot that say family on it. In the town, we live in a small rural community. And our quote, even with the town, is it takes a village to raise a child. So things that we do uptown, even the community posts about, yep, takes a village. This is what's going on at the school. This is what's going on at town. We're not separate entities. We are all one family. And that's the biggest gain that we've had, because we were so disconnected before.
Yeah. And so, okay, fast forward to now. How has that number improved? I mean, I know that it's improved because you've done all of this amazing work and you said, no, we're not going to keep this way. How's it improved?
We were screaming from the rooftops when, so Five Essential Survey was our state survey that we had to give every 2 years before we switched over. Now we get to use Panorama.
Hmm.
But we were actually at the 99th percentile for teacher-student relationships. We screamed it to the kids, to the teachers, and the kids were like, yes, we like our teachers. Yes, we're part of the family. Like, there was a time where people didn't feel like this.
Yeah.
So
Oh
we
my
are
gosh.
beyond excited to share it.
Yeah. So 18% to
Mhm.
99th percentile.
Yeah.
Like that is an incredible feat. So like when we're thinking about belonging and all of that, I'm thinking also attendance. That's something that a lot of districts are really struggling with right now, and they feel pretty stuck on that. What was the situation in Earlville? Did that have any impact on anything?
So just like our belonging, we have to actually be honest with our data.
Hmm.
And in the 21-22 school year, because we started with the surveys and then switched over through the end of COVID to using student success, because I found out Panorama had a lot more, and I love Panorama. But our district score was 62% of our students were on track with their attendance. My high school was only 61% of my high school was attending regularly. And when I pulled the report this year to get ready for this, it was 88% of my district was attendance on track, but 90% of my high school and 92% of my junior high.
Wow. That is incredible. Like
Yes.
the to hear that students were not attending school and now are attending 90%, 92%. I think a lot of that has to do with the family culture that you've built there.
Yes.
So you took a pretty unconventional approach. Can you walk us through what that looked like to get kids to show up?
So the biggest thing was first looking at the data. Okay, we got kids that aren't showing up. What are we going to do about it? How do we get kids to want to come to school? What do we do? So we asked the kids. The teachers in all their classrooms asked the kids, hey, what are some things that, like, why aren't you coming to school, or what is going on? And we now do incentives at the high school and the junior high. And then elementary is going to be doing some different incentives for next year. They did the attend dance. But at the junior high and high school, we look at the data, and the kids that are on truancy contracts or a truancy contract, we look at the Panorama we print out the profile, and it actually it colors in the square red if the student miss.
Right.
And when you have a student and a parent sitting in front of you and then say, okay, look at this calendar, what do you notice? And the first thing they say is, wow, that's a lot of reds on Fridays. Why is it so red? Or why do I have these weeks of so red? It can just have great discussions. And then we come up with plans afterwards. So I would say between the incentives, the truancy meetings, and we consistently talk about it with the kids, when you're intentional, everything will improve.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a way that some districts just haven't really accomplished. And I know that somebody out there is thinking like, why lead with belonging rather than policy or consequences? Because I think that's typically what we go for at first.
It's back to relationships. No matter what, relationships are number one. We started with book studies with our teachers, all of our professional development, and this started in 2018. And belonging is still something that is on all of our school improvement goals. And I mean, we're scoring at the 99th percentile, and we still know that isn't important.
Mhm.
But I think that's also why I have teacher retention, because the teachers are happy to be here.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's another big component of making sure that, that your school culture is positive, is making sure not only are, like you said earlier, when your teachers are happy, your students are happy, and your test scores then are happy, right?
Yes.
So, when you think about what you were doing when you tracked progress along the way, how did Panorama factor into that?
So Panorama is a standing item on our faculty meetings. So every 2 weeks, I meet with my high school staff, and then the other 2 weeks, I meet with my junior high staff. So every week, I'm meeting with somebody. And on it, it says Panorama, parentheses, 10 minutes. So we know no matter what, we're given Panorama 10 minutes. It has gone down throughout the years or throughout the months because my social worker displays all the data with truancy because she has taken over truancy.
Yeah.
So although it says Panorama, the next step is truancy on our faculty meetings. So not all 10 minutes are part of it.
Yeah, yeah. So you also built something inside your district for students who are struggling. Can you walk us through how that works, what it's called, like how a student gets connected, and then what happens from there?
So we have student success. So we have SEL, attendance, grades, benchmark scores, everything. So after the benchmark meetings, we make sure that all of our students have a champion. Every 2 weeks at those faculty meetings, we look at our champion data because you can actually sort the kids based on their champions and who is red, yellow, and green.
Hmm.
And then we make sure that any students that are in the red, what's going on with their champion. And when I say champion, for example, I want to say this started from my junior high math teacher. When we first got Panorama, I just let my teachers play with it and come up with, okay, what do you guys find cool? What do you guys like? And she's, Jenette, I really want to try this champion. So I'm like, okay, let's try it. So the teacher sends a check-in to the kid because the teacher is the champion and there's the kid, sends a
Hmm.
check-in weekly, and then they discuss what was in the check-in. It's a nice way for some of my students that don't like to verbally tell their teacher exactly how they're feeling or what's going on. It's a nice way they can just do it on their Chromebook and it gets right to my teacher. And then on it, it says like, when do they want to talk? The kid gets to pick it. If the kid takes ownership of it, that's where we've seen a giant success because the kids will tell you everything if you just have that relationship and build it with them. The other thing we do with champions is in our homerooms and advisory classes. So if you are a student that is getting a D or an F for your grades, then the homeroom teacher checks in with you and sends out a weekly survey that you have to put in your grades, your attendance, the reason for those grades, the reason for your attendance. That also helps with parent communication of, well, little Johnny said he didn't do his homework that week because he didn't want to. So then it's written documentation from the kid. And then the teacher and the student work together on a goal for the next week of how they're either going to come to school, do their homework, or get off the DF list.
Wow. I mean, that intentionality is very clear on why you guys have had such success in really improving the scores of belonging and the scores on attendance. Just listening to this conversation is telling me everything that you guys are doing right. When we think about a student, is there anybody that you can think of that this system has really made a huge difference for?
You only want one? Because there's a lot. There is one girl that would come to mind, like how I was talking about the truancy meetings with the looking at the calendar.
Mhm.
So if one of my students are on a contract, my social worker actually checks on them daily, checks to make sure that they are in attendance, just lays her eyes on them, like thumbs up, thumbs down, how is the kid doing? Because sometimes I love the four walls, but sometimes the four walls are difficult for kids or difficult for anyone. So if it's a thumbs down of, okay, let's go talk about it, just so we can address it that day. And then, so this student, who also my students look weekly at how their attendance rate is. They look to see all their red. So she came to me, she's, Mrs. Fruit, can you print out my chart? I'm like, what chart do you want me to print out? The one on Panorama, the one with all the red boxes. I'm like, do I want to? She's like, can you please? So I printed it out and she's look, I don't have all those red anymore. Can you see? I was working on it. And just the look on her face, you can tell that she had been thinking about those red boxes for a while, and she could not wait to show me that they're not there. Aren't you proud of me? And so I would say that was the one that comes to mind the most.
I love that. I love to hear how you're using it with the students, and even the students want to be accountable utilizing
Yes.
and seeing that is just so incredible. And I know you're about to step into this new superintendent role. Looking ahead,
Mhm.
what are you most excited to really build on, and what do you hope kind of stays exactly the way that it is?
So one of the things we really focus on here is data. Over the past 2 years, we've really focused on our data teams. But for next year, we're changing kind of the procedures we use for our data teams and our school leadership team to have them be more. My school leadership team isn't as intentional as I want it to be. So that is something that's going to change. Our data teams are consisting of support staff and my teachers, because they're the ones that live it every day. And they are the ones that they have some awesome ideas that, okay, here is the data. Look at the data. What are some things we need to change? How do we get there? Because the more people you have helping get to the end goal, the better. So I think that's the biggest thing I'm excited about. I already have the posters ready to be printed of all of our goals with our obviously results from Panorama written on them. And then we will use that when we meet the 3 times for our full data team and school leadership to analyze the data and just make sure we're on the right track.
I really love to hear how you're using the data, and especially because a lot of districts feel over what they know they need to use it, but it's so overwhelming. And your story from going from Google Sheets and Excel sheets and all of that to having this really clear way to look at it and be intentional, I think is a huge success. What would you say to the principal right now who is where you were when all of this started?
So he's already seen all the Panorama data. He's really excited. Everyone in this building knows Panorama is not going anywhere. We actually have more Panorama training for my teachers next year, that because they like to play around it, but now they're like, okay, because they've been teaching each other how to do it, but we're having Panorama come in August and September just to focus on, so it aligns to our data team, because that was something that the data team came up with of, we need everyone to be using this, not just certain people. So that's what, just being intentional. And he was excited when he's, wait, this is all in one thing.
Yes. Awesome. That is amazing. And last question. What is one thing that you wish you had known sooner in this whole process?
I would have known about Panorama, because it makes my life a lot easier. And to like principals out there, don't be afraid of the data. Just look at it, get a plan, fix it. And if you don't know about Panorama, make sure you do and say yes to when they want to do something beta, because Panorama is consistently adding stuff. And the other thing that I like is just the support. If I do have a question, somebody responds to me right away.
I love that. I think that makes a huge difference in the success that you've had too, is just having someone along the way to help you out with it. So we just appreciate you so much, Jenette. Your leadership, what you're doing in Earlville is clearly working well. And we love to hear what you're doing and showing other districts and schools how they can make a difference in their schools and districts as well. So thank you so much again for being a part of this. You are a fantastic leader.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you're a district leader listening and wondering where to start, we hope this conversation gave you something concrete to take back. Thank you again for tuning in to the Leading and Learning podcast. Make sure you hit that follow button so you don't miss our next episode. We'll see